Good morning, and I'm just going to give you the high-level view of the NoS evolution. So if you go to the next slide, I think everybody knows Linux Foundation. We have multiple sub-foundations across the ecosystem, and obviously we are in the networking section of the foundation. There's a lot of synergies with projects, across projects, I should say. So as we get into projects that cover, say, LF networking and projects like Leaf, that have deployments in campuses across, say, Walmarts and others, there is opportunity for deployment of these kind of NoSes in a disaggregated manner. So that's kind of how we look at it from a market perspective. At the end of the day, the adoption is in multiple verticals. And while Dent started in retail, I think we are starting to see a lot more push across other verticals as well. So if you go to the next slide. Okay, so this is my single slide on how everything comes together, because NoS itself is just one part of it. But you have connectivity at the left-hand side, which is a sub-project under the LF. You have the edge. While some of the Dent deployments are at the edge, we look at edge classically in terms of a user edge and a service provider edge, and then you have the cloud and the entire stack on the core that goes up all the way. All right, so focusing on NoS, as you all know, for the last 10 years, NoS was completely fragmented. We had telcos doing something called DayNoS. We had some FRR that was built by some private companies. Then we had a couple of startups, even today, doing NoS. And then we had, Dent, we had Sonic, we had a couple of others. Over the last years, we have seen a great harmonization, right? Like with Dent specifically aligning with the SI specs. Sonic is already based on the SI spec. There's still some fragmentation on the startup side of things, but in general, those are specific use cases. Now, we do not believe that there is going to be a Linux equivalent or a Kubernetes equivalent, meaning one single NoS for the entire industry and the entire market, because it's a function of the market, use cases, placement in the network, cost, feature, scale, et cetera, et cetera. So what we want to make sure is beyond the current use cases, how do you go and align the silicon vendors and the white ODMs to not respin hardware? That's the goal. That's the motivation of the network operating system. All right. So to focus a little bit deeper on the Dent side of things, we have a very, very interesting set of discussions and topics, right? But I won't go into the architecture of Dent, but from a progress perspective, this is what we have reported to the board also. The release is out. It has been deployed in multiple locations in retail, specifically, in e-commerce, food, beverages, things like that. We have had major announcements with OCP in their regional summit. End user group is launched. So if you're an end user of a NoS, you can join, participate again for free, but you can get your requirements included. And then if you see the community, whether it's a commit or the contributors, it's gone up, 15 to 25%, which is pretty good, decent growth in terms of how much code is getting added in the community. So that's the progress. And if you, I think there's one more after this. Yeah, okay. And then while OCP is a great partner of ours and we have this mini summit here, the next big event coming up for planning purposes is next year. April 29 through May 1, right here in this San Jose Convention Center. So that's going to be the biggest event if you remember 10 years ago, there's something called Open Networking Summit, ONS, started at Stanford and then went on to become the largest show. We are bringing it back to the Silicon Valley. It has become regional this year in terms of global reach, but we're bringing it back to Silicon Valley here. So I'm expecting a lot more people to come and join this. That's a networking specific show. So keep that on your calendar, go to the website. The call for papers is open, CFP is open. So submit your talks, ideas into this process and speak, sponsor, and take it on from there. So that's the high-level view of that. Any questions? I know it's early in the morning, so I'm hoping everybody gets coffee and breakfast and things like that. Anything I can answer? Or too early to ask questions? Okay, I know it is early, and I think I'm sure you're in for a very good technical treat. There's a lot of good engineers here. You'll hear and get the opportunity. So I'll pass it on to the next speaker. Yeah.